Hello, Gabriel. It's such a pleasure to have you.
Absolutely, very nice meeting you. Very nice meeting you at Super Zoo, and nice to see you again.
Likewise here. We just had a quick conversation, but it did stick with me, and it did stick with me how many people you actually had at the booth. So there was always lots of traffic, which was great. So welcome, Gabriel. Tell us a bit what you're doing.
So it's interesting. I have an interesting journey. I started my journey in food, from very early on. As growing up in the food industry, family business in human food. Then when I came to the States, I'm originally from Ecuador, came to the States to study food science. So I was very interested in food and and the science of it. And I've spent my entire career in human food, specifically seafood. And just recently we pivoted and jumped to the pet food industry. And we really felt that with Finfare we had an opportunity to create something unique, and to really elevate the standard in the industry and do what we've done for many years in human food, but now for pets. We felt
Wow.
that it was an amazing opportunity, and having seen the segment grow, and how obviously pet parents want the best for their pets. I mean, I think we knew that we can do something special, so here we are.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, here you are. Well, here you are. It wasn't that easy, I guess. It's right. It's a journey. So tell me, are
Absolutely.
you still in human food too?
So personally, I'm not. My biggest partner is in human food. So the partner is one of the largest value add seafood companies in the United States.
Mhm.
And it's been, it's a great advantage to be able to have them as a partner. So yeah, I mean, I am indirectly involved, but now 100% of my energy and time is dedicated to the new venture, to the
Yeah,
Finfare venture.
yeah. So it's great actually to pick your brain because you're still fresh, right? You're kind of fresh to the industry. So what are the three key observations you have for the industry? What are the three things where you go, wow, this is interesting?
I think innovation is one that, you know, um, I felt that innovation in the pet segment, and that's why I thought we had an opportunity, was that innovation was mostly about maybe novel flavors and packaging, and there was a lot of Me Too items. There's a lot of Me Too products in the category with a different pack, with a different brand. And innovation is really more, you know, more than just novel flavors and new packaging. It's about creating products that really elevate the pet experience. Connecting it to the human standards without compromising health and sustainability. We you know we knew that throughout our expertise in seafood, and having you know really at the very at a very deep level really understand seafood and what makes good seafood. Um, we we immediately identified an opportunity. We have our vertical integration goes to the point where we actually have access to the fish the minute it comes out of the water. So we're constantly grading fish, we're constantly identifying good and bad fish. And the one thing that we noticed was that at least in the treat category, most treat companies were utilizing you know a much inferior raw material. I think that a lot of the raw material used in the industry is the same material. It's usually a rendered, coming from industrial grade, which is
Yeah.
the lowest grade. And for a pet, I think the food becomes so important. So I think if you're feeding your animal product that has been deteriorating
Yeah.
over time, it's not really providing the benefit, I think. And I think that's when a lot of brands have have hidden behind the products that they claim on the package without really understanding what they're using, right? I mean, many companies may be using salmon, for example, without really understanding that the salmon that they're using probably has no omega-3s at the by
Yeah.
the time that they're using that salmon has been oxidized, has
Mm.
been deteriorated to the point where the omega-3s are almost not there. And when you
So
look at
Sorry to interrupt you here. In
Yeah,
terms of so what you're saying is basically the supply chain you're using is at a very high standard. So
exactly.
it's not like would you not say that a lot of the waste, sorry to be so provocative, a
Yeah,
lot
yeah.
of waste that comes from the human part now is going into the dog side?
I wouldn't even call it waste, because I think that, the entire the entire the entire fish is wholesome if you take care of it from the very beginning,
Ah, I see. So
right?
it's a question how quickly you process it too,
How
right?
quickly you process it correctly, and then what you do with it. I mean, and I think that, utilizing the right technologies to be able to preserve, the quality, the flavor, and the nutrition are extremely important. So, again, just because I think that it helps sometimes, show the comparison of what happens with most of the product that is used. Most of the product that is used is rendered, right? I mean, companies
Yeah.
accumulate waste from different companies, they render it, they block it, they freeze it, and then that's the material that is used for a lot of the product. The rendering process and all that, has a lot of processes that are there to make the product very uniform, but at the same time, it's deteriorating out of the nutrients. So in our case, because we're connected at the hip with a human,
Great.
production,
Yeah.
group, we must, ensure that the product from the minute it comes out of the water, we're taking, all the care and processing it quickly and the right conditions, and then even further, utilizing the right technology is one of the things that we felt we had. We've been smoking fish for over 100 years on the human side, and smoking does a number of things, and we, ended up learning throughout, and this was more on the human side. We ended up learning, the benefits of natural smoking, cold smoking,
Yeah.
without introducing heat, and a lot of the natural components of smoke act as, obviously, flavor enhancers. It
Yeah.
helps
Sure.
promote,
Sure.
better flavor, but also protect a lot of omega 3s. There are natural antioxidants and the smoking process. So we identified the right technology. So cold smoking is something we've done, and then freeze drying, and those two technologies are working in synergy, to really boost nutrition. So and in that work, we were published in a medical journal many years ago, and we at that point knew that we had something unique,
Special.
when it came to nutrition. So, fast forward, I don't know, maybe 10 years, we knew that, in looking and studying the category, the pet category, we knew that we had something really unique. We were at a point where we probably had the nutritional, uh, values to be a supplement, but because the product looks too natural, it can't be classified as a supplement. So the
Yes.
next best thing was a treat with great benefits, to the
Yes.
pet.
Good.
So yeah, I mean, I think innovation really played, an important role here. And I think there's like so many themes that have to today, you know, have to be really strong. The humanization,
It's massive. Yeah, it's massive.
it's massive, right? But I think the key clarity point is that humanization in pet foods should go beyond marketing now. Consumers increasingly treat pets as family members and expect the
I mean,
same quality that they would eat.
yes, I just heard that comparison before. It's almost like the baby category.
Yeah.
How people woke up to what is actually in those baby glasses, and I
Right.
have the feeling, especially with the trend towards fresh food in the versus a kibble, people start really thinking about what am I feeding my animal, what am I feeding my dog. So yes, you're absolutely on the right track here.
Yeah.
So, you are really focused on fish and seafood, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. I mean, and I think it's a big enough space. One of the things that we've been seeing also is how the seafood subcategory within treats is over-indexing the treat category. There's
Yeah, it
a
is.
very healthy, amount of growth with seafood-based treats. Um, so, and again, I mean, it's a natural food that has so many benefits, if handled properly, right?
Properly.
If the material is handled properly, then all those benefits are there. That the benefit for us is that not many people know how to treat that fish or identify good quality fish, and then what to do with it so that you preserve the wonders of of feeding your animal fish.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because you're kind of presenting it as like, if the story you're telling, it's not a story, but yes, it is a story, it's your story, is the story of an interrupter of the industry, right? Because it's interrupting. It's
Yeah.
basically and giving it benefit to people who are probably not aware that what they're feeding is inferior currently.
Right.
So how do you make sure that people understand that your brand, Finfare,
Right.
is actually superior to whatever they are feeding?
It's so interesting. I mean, and it's such a good point because I think successful companies have two things. One is product. You can have an incredible product, but if you don't communicate, if you don't market it, if you don't promote it, it's nothing. And the reverse is also true. You can have great marketing, but without good product, you have nothing. So that the true exceptional companies do both extremely well.
Exactly.
Right. So I think we know how to do the product. I mean, I think the communication, I think this journey, this is probably was going to be one of the toughest journeys ahead of us, is really communicating what we have, and what we understood very early was the importance of communicating the product on pack. How do we make sure that the product communicates, the essence of the brand, the product, the minute that the consumer sees the package on shelf, right? I
Yeah,
mean, very few
it's a great
opportunities you
thought.
have to communicate, and it's expensive. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you have a
So
product you can hold up in the camera?
of course,
Of course. No. Yeah. Fantastic. I think one of the most standoutish things at the first sight is the packaging. It's amazing.
yeah.
It's,
So I mean, that was really a big focus on our strategy, making sure that we have packaging that looks almost like art, that is actually nice to look at, but it communicates also fun, because treating should be about fun. It's seriousness. It's serious and fun. um and we debated a lot on what we put on the front of the pack, and we felt that we need to communicate product also. And we ended up, on the human side, it's always, you need to show the product, have a clear window, have people see
yeah.
the product. And you know
And
we
pet.
we hesitated a lot on that, because we're like, I want to show the product the way that it really looks, real size. But unfortunately, behind the window, it doesn't, it's not. If I was vacuuming, packing, and I had a big window,
Very
then maybe.
different.
But
But
the
as
way the product gets packed, I
packed
have
and
to show.
moves. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course. Of course.
Yeah,
Of course.
there's a window in the back, but but I want to be able to communicate. It's got to stand out. The minute that the consumer sees that pack, and they need to know exactly what they're getting.
So, Gabrielle, you said one of the big challenges now is you got a great product, which is a great start. Now you need to communicate out there,
Yeah,
right? So what is
right.
your idea? What is the strategy behind your communication? What are you planning?
It's great. I mean, I think, and part of the communication strategy is really identifying, our audience, our segment. Who are we going after? What's the tone of voice that we need to use? To provide, to give the brand its personality. So a lot of what we're doing right now is really building community and building the foundation, really getting to understand and get to know the consumer. So we're spending quite a bit of energy, actually, building community, and we're doing it a lot with our social media interactions. We're participating in a lot of community events in New York. We are actually very lucky to be in New York, where there's a lot of stuff happening every single day.
That's
There's-
great. Yeah, very.
So
And lots
yeah,
of pets. Lots of pets.
a
Yeah.
lot of pets. And Halloween is coming up, right? I mean, there's probably like a dozen Halloween events all around pets.
Yes.
So I mean, really, that's really the foundation at the beginning. Really building community, building trust, so people really understand what we do, who we are, and why we do it. So yeah, I mean, and and soon, we're gonna be in distribution nationwide. We've been very blessed. We feel that in less than a year we are gonna be hitting thousands of stores. So that will help also with with really amplifying the brand and the message.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
you're pointing at something which, I'm a growth expert, right? So typically people go, so what are you doing? And I said, well, the only thing I really do is give people a really easy insight into strategy, right? And what is that easy insight into strategy? There's only one strategy at the beginning of any business, which is exactly what you're describing. Build your audience and sell to them.
Right.
And hit repeat, build your audience and sell to them. That's
Right.
all you have to do to make a business successful, because what drives a business is the top line first.
Right.
Then we start worrying about the bottom line. But first you have to really build that audience and sell to them and keep doing that. And that's, I think, a great attempt. So when you're saying you're going into distribution, is that classic distribution, or is that big box, or is that everywhere?
So it's a good question, and this is perhaps one of the areas where we had to pivot very early on, and it's about pivoting, at every corner when you're starting up, and even later. I mean, and being able to adjust that. We, when we were building our strategy, our go-to-market strategy, we felt and we thought, this was our gut feeling, where hey, we have these incredible relationships in human food that we've built over many decades. We, on the human side, we were in distribution across the nation.
Yes.
In every retailer, I can pick up the phone and and I will get a connection with a buyer.
Right, so you have access, you have market.
We have access, and we felt that was that was a must strategy. It was like 100%, that's what we need to do. But in listening to the industry, in understanding, having conversations with with different channels, we started pivoting and started changing what we thought was the right strategy to go to market. And as you know, here in the States, there are two clear channels, two clear distribution channels. You have food, drug, mass, you're right, your classical grocery stores, your mass merchandisers, and then you have pet specialty and mass pet specialty. And oftentimes, as a new brand, you have to choose which lane you're going after. So, along the way, we ended up having to pivot because we knew also that with food, drug, mass, yes, the market is bigger. It's a much bigger category, a much bigger segment.
Yeah.
But the what we were trying to do with our brand and our product was really create something very unique and very premium and very special.
Yes.
And I think that food, drug, mass it's not mature enough yet. It will happen. There are a lot of retailers on the food, drug, mass that are starting to experiment and upgrade their selections.
Absolutely.
But but our product really didn't have a good fit in that. So we ended up pivoting and we said, what? Where do most consumers go to find the most premium product that they can find? Is a pet specialty store, right? I mean, they're making that special trip to make a very special purchase on, right? I mean, they're not going to a regular grocery, and grocery is great for more commodity based items.
It's also very noisy, if you go into grocery, there's lots of more noise, you know what I mean? But there's just a lot of distractions.
There's a lot of noise at a lower price point, less premium, but also you're competing more with commoditized product, and you're competing also with much larger companies with very large and deep pockets.
Multinational.
So a lot harder to compete, in that space, with lower margins, and so so we ended up pivoting, and I think that is something that was difficult because we were all convinced, but we were like, hold on a second, yes, we and we had a lot of retailers. We had to say no to a lot of people, and these were actually difficult decisions, but actually good problems to have. We had a very large stores here in the United States where we had to say no because we needed to stay focused. So
yes, and it's also a question of how much can you handle, right, as a new business. So how do you handle the stress of, because you just started that business? How do you do that? I mean, you're not an octopus, I guess. So how big is your team, or how are you handling all of the?
We're a small team, and and it's a great comment and a great question that you ask, because we're at that intersection right now, right? We are at an intersection where we need to start scaling up, and we're scaling up. We're going pretty much from driving this car at a few miles per hour to really going full speed, like full
You're
speed.
going from the toddler stage, I call it the toddler stage, to the teenage stage in the business,
Correct.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And the teenage stage is the one which gets really shaky. Typically, I'm not saying in your business,
Absolutely.
but generally what I observe,
Yeah.
because it's this where you go, you have to finance your growth. You
Right.
can't build too much overhead. I mean, you need to not deprive the business of its oxygen, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So the wonderful, I guess, opportunity that we have is that we've been able to, leverage our partner.
Mhm.
So we are, we're able to share a lot of resources. So I think that the scaling up, has been great. I mean, the partnership has been amazing because, like all the back office, all the finance operations, all the, that
And it's
we're,
all taken care of. Mm.
it's more or less taken care of. So I think we can focus on growth. We can focus on, on building the brand. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's a small team, right? I mean, we have we've had to get super creative with utilizing a lot of um, independent contractors
Mhm.
at the beginning, right? Fractional, professionals, where you hire them for 20 hours, 30 hours a week.
Which is good, because typically these people are hungry and very creative, because
Right.
that typically can work really well. I have a lot of clients who work with who keep working with independents
Yeah.
because of that reason. It's because they give more. They tend to have the feeling that more input comes from the outside in, which is
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, and it gives them a lot more flexibility to, to build their own
Yeah.
schedules, and so I think it's a bit of a win-win
Yes.
to everyone. But yeah, I mean, it's it's stressful for sure, because we are starting to plan, right? I mean, we're going to be hitting stores soon, very soon, and we need to make sure that every component of the supply chain is in line
Yes.
and ready.
So you're going through distribution, right? You're going through traditional distribution channels.
So we're going to right. So traditional distribution channels, correct? Yeah,
Okay.
and the good news is that we understand from the human side a lot of those
Yes.
processes, a lot of those systems are very similar.
Yeah.
So there is a certain level of familiarity with with what needs to happen to be able to execute. So
Which is great. Which is great. So, okay. So the vision is, I got it. So first you go into independence, real focus on pets. So if you could make a wish, I'm not talking a 5-year plan, because 5 years seems long in today's world because everything is so quick. Where does AI come into play? Does it come into play at all in your business?
it plays every single day.
How does it play?
It's it's such a fascinating, it's just so fascinating what's happening with AI. But I think that with with all the demand planning, the demand planning, there's like so much that we can automate with AI when it comes to to supply chain.
Yeah.
Work that it would take, I don't know, a human, I don't know, a couple of hours, you can do it in a few minutes. And also on the research, there's so much on the compliance component,
Yes.
where oftentimes you would have to do a lot of research and spend a lot of hours really understanding certain regulations and things like
Yes.
that. And and I think that it's a lot easier to do it now. So, and we're able to also, like, save quite a bit of, not just time but also money, in being able to access resources that are so readily available in terms of information.
Yeah, it's just a way to structure and cluster information in a very
Yeah.
effective way. I
And even
get
from from a marketing point of view, I mean, I think that there's like incredible, I don't know, there's like so much wonderful things that can be done so much faster, even on the creative end.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's gonna continue impacting what we do, and in probably in much bigger ways.
Yeah, what's your
So
vision on that? What's your vision? Where do you think we'll be in 3 years, especially knowing this industry? Because you're coming with a very fresh mind to this industry, which is very valuable.
I
So,
think because of AI, I think things are gonna get harder in a way that people will have access to better intel, to be
yeah,
able to craft better and more specific and more effective strategies. Because with 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 business strategies, a lot is about you know information asymmetry.
of
You know,
course.
if you can hold information, you have an advantage. Nowadays it's so difficult to hold information because you either have very intelligent models that can help figure things out, or information is there. So I think it's going to get harder, because I think it gets easier for companies also, and for new brands to to come to life.
Yeah, don't you think it's a bit related to this? There's this sentence which says, we're drowning in information and starving for wisdom. I think it's all about if you can direct your thoughts and if you can
Right,
direct your object. So if you can direct your values, your thoughts, and your actions to a very clear Northern Star, let's put it this way,
right,
then you'll probably be in a better place,
right.
right? Because I think, don't you think, like AI also, if you don't have a very clear target of what you're wanting it to do,
Right. I think
you
that's the
lose the
human
point.
interaction that is
Right.
required, right? I mean, I think you can't just let I tell you what to do, but I think you need to be able to know how to use it and what prompts
Yeah.
to utilize and ask the right questions. And yeah, I mean, there's still you still have to do a lot of the things that a human will do. But yeah, I mean, you need to direct artificial intelligence, for sure.
Yes. And I think this is why I wanted to do the summit as well, Gabrielle, because this is human to human interaction, right?
Right.
And a human to human interaction, in my opinion, like this is my vision, right, will be getting much more valued in a few years
Right.
because AI is going to do the base of everything.
Right.
So the way we interact as humans are going to be the cream on the top of the cake, so to say.
Right. And also, I mean, I think at the end of the day, right? I mean, we're still building relationships, right? Business deals are being done
Yeah.
person by person. And I think that if we hide so much behind technology, we as humans lose the skills to be able to communicate effectively, to be able to relate to other people and build relationships, right? I mean, I think that will continue to be extremely important. So,
Yeah. In my opinion, it's interesting that you should say that because the question also is how does the human communicate? Is that based on know how he got through AI? Or is that really
right,
something that's authentically coming through himself, right?
right,
Because today, if you have a conversation with an intelligent person, intelligence has nothing to do with only an IQ. It has something to do with how authentic is this person able to articulate, right?
right,
Their vision. How is it impacting the value chain? How a bit how you're describing now to build this business. So what are the values you're trying to instill into the business? That's something probably AI can never take away.
right,
Um,
exactly.
but there's some people out there where you think you're already talking to ChatGPT rather than a person.
Right. Exactly. But I think that's the wonderful opportunity that when you're dealing with a product, it's not a service, it's a product.
Product, yeah.
I can describe what we are, and ChatGPT and AI can do a wonderful job creating the most impactful description of the product. But at the end of the day, it's a product that needs to sell itself, right? I mean, so we still have to make something. AI won't make fish.
Absolutely.
AI, it can probably help us improve,
Yeah,
and can help us,
absolutely.
understand some of the science better. But yeah, it's not gonna make it. So
Yes.
I think we still have something.
Yes, the product has to have a soul, right? And the
Yes.
product typically has a soul. So thank you, Gabriel, for your time. We are out of time.
Course.
I mean, I could have spoken with you another like hours, but
Same
I'm,
Peggy.
yeah, I'm looking forward to keeping in touch. And I thank you
Absolutely.
so much for your time and for sharing your insight. It's going to be super useful for everybody who participates. And
No, it was a pleasure speaking to you.
it was a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.